Influencer's Journey. My name is Suzanne Hart, and sitting down beside me is the beautiful Taria Hodge, social media strategist. And our topic today is stop waiting for permission to lead. I love this topic. How many of you out there is waiting for permission to lead? Now, I will say that this is so interesting. So I want to put into context what we mean by waiting for permission to lead. So you're waiting for the rank advancement and you're saying, when I get this rank advancement, I am going to step into leadership and I'm going to move things forward. You are starting a new business, you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, and you haven't had success yet. And you're in your mind, you're thinking, when I get success, I will become a leader and people are going to take me seriously. That's waiting for permission to lead. I haven't made enough money yet, so I'm not really, in that place where people are going to take me seriously. That's waiting for permission to lead. So it's a conversation we have in our head about, when I do this, I will be this. That really is this conundrum where we find ourselves waiting for permission to lead. So that's I wanted to just tee that up so all of us are on the same page. So the first question we're going to ask you, because this is the truth, why must each of us lead right where we stand? Definition: right where you stand means exactly where you are right this moment, whether you're sitting in your living room, whether you're at work, whether you're sitting in your car, whether you're up to something, right where you stand, with no position, no title, no nothing. That is the question.
So I like how you open it up, as whether you're still working on your 9 to 5, or you're an entrepreneur, you're waiting, for all of these things to happen before you can do XYZ. And it brought to mind for me in my early days as an entrepreneur, and I always share, this story. Like the first year that I stepped out on my journey was like absolutely a blur. I think I slept for the first year. But I remember when I made the decision, to step it up, because it's one of those things that I've heard that, most entrepreneurs go out of business within a year. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I didn't want that to be me. So, one of the very first things that I did when I made that decision was I got an office space. So, a virtual office space. And
Mm-hmm.
I showed up to that office space every single day as if I was going to a 9 to 5.
Mm.
And I remember um, Trevor Otts also shared the same office space. And that was the beginning of, us meeting and getting to know each other. And it was so interesting because what I remember him saying to me back in the day is, you show up here every day. So it's one of the things that he noticed that was different from a lot of other people who invested in the office space.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you're here every day. You get here every morning at 8 o'clock, and you are one of the last people to leave, the office space. And that began him, just first noticing and seeing that initiative, to him saying, well, let me help you, with some of the things that you're doing. And I remember that was really my first introduction into online marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where, I started just being able to, learn different systems, because, I showed the initiative to show up and then was eager to learn the things too. And so I don't think that there was anything that he ever showed me at that time. And I always tell people this: at that time, I didn't know technology. I was that person who was scared of technology at the time, but was just eager to learn, wanted to learn it. And what I realized, the more that I showed that type of initiative, the more opportunities came my way.
Absolutely. And I think that is exactly how it works. And so part of what we're talking about is showing up in a way where your habits and behaviors
Mhm.
demonstrate something about your character.
Mm.
And so I know for myself, one of the things that I look for in leadership is leaders have initiative.
Mhm.
And so they will take action even when they don't know what to do, even when no one else is taking action, even when the path isn't clear. They're going to be the ones out there going, I'm going to get out there and make the pathway.
Right.
Leaders have vision, and leaders will cast a vision of possibility and say, I have an idea, let me cast it out there
Mhm.
and make it real, but give it life. And notice there's no how. It's like I am going to create. I create first in my mind, then through my speaking, and then I put it
Yeah.
into the world and I make it a reality. Leaders are committed. They will start something, and it's not until tired, not until
Right.
frustrated, not until I don't know, but until completed. They are persistent, they are consistent, they have initiative, they have a high level of integrity, and all this comes together to create a character of somebody that people start to
Mhm.
look at and say, this person is going somewhere. And I think one of the distinctions is leaders are doers
Yeah.
in the absence of clear paths.
Mhm.
Leaders are doers when change and transformation is required. And so the question is, are you stepping into leadership, or are you the person sitting on the sideline saying, I don't know how, and until someone shows me how, I really can't move. I don't see the pathway. Until someone shows me the pathway, I really can't move. I don't see the answer. And until someone tells me the answer, tells me what to do, I'm just going to plant myself right here and just do what I know. And that's a catch 22 that most people fall into.
Mhm. Mhm.
They do what they know, and then they wonder why people are not looking at them for the future. Well, you're not casting anything into the future.
Yeah.
You're not saying, I have potential to handle something bigger than I am right now. Are you guys getting the difference? This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah, and it is so true, and that's what it really requires, for you to have the courage. And that's what I'm hearing, that you're saying is like that's what leaders do when they take a look at, where they want to go, or there's a path that needs to be charted. Do you have the courage, to step into that despite whatever and figure it out?
And that's a big one, and figure it out.
Hmm.
And one of the things I've always said to anyone I've worked with, I say leadership is messy, just so you know. When you get into it, it's messy. It's extremely rewarding, but it's messy. And what I mean by messy is you're going to fail, you're going to course correct, you're going to look bad, you're going to get stuck in I don't know, and then you're going to have to figure it out. You're
Yeah.
going to take a step forward, and then you're going to probably take two steps backward to get to the next place. You're going to go off in the wrong direction, and then that wrong direction is going to teach you something that gets you back on track. It is that thing. And on top of that, you're charting a path with the possibility of inviting people along. That's a level of responsibility that I'm not sure everyone is up to,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I'm not sure everyone is up to, because I, um, you notice how we like to be able to blame somebody when things go wrong.
Mm.
We like to be able to point the finger over there and say, well, my boss, my manager, this person told me to do it, or they didn't tell me what to do. Leaders are those individuals that say, I'm just going to make a decision. And I
Yeah.
will take responsibility for failure or success. I will take responsibility for what happens. However, I truly believe that if we go off in this direction, we will get what we need. We will create the change that's required. It's a different beast.
Mm. So that brings a beautiful question to mind for me, and it's one of the things that you know I've often thought about. So, are leaders born or are leaders created?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that leaders are created.
Mm.
And I think that any person can step into leadership if they choose to do the work to do so. Now, that being said, I think there are people that are naturally inclined to lead. It's just the way they be. I remember I've been the captain of every team I've been on, and I remember once upon a time, I joined a cheerleading squad. Now I joined the cheerleading squad because I was working and I just wanted to stay in shape, and their workouts were like beastly, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to keep me in shape. I really don't want to be doing anything. Even when I didn't try, I ended up being chosen as the captain.
Uh,
Okay. So there's some like there's leaders that are they're just their natural way of being. That being said, I still don't think it's a natural way of being. It is how I'm committed to grow myself.
mm,
So oftentimes people will say that leaders are natural leaders because they're looking at what leaders do to other people.
mm,
When we think of leadership, we think of leading other people.
right.
The reason it appears as natural is because the person you're looking at has done the work to lead themselves. Because I truly believe that the first person I ever lead is myself. I actually believe the only person I lead is myself because I'm the only person I have control over. And if I lead myself brilliantly and masterfully, and I develop the character that people can count on, I create this thing called influence, and then people choose to follow because they're attracted to who I'm being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still think it's not born, it's developed. I have to work on me in order for this to happen.
Yeah. And I love it because it just brings to mind, I was that person before, that, thought that leadership was something that was affected on, other people. And it was that thing for me that, oh my gosh, resisted. Like, I don't want that pressure. But I remember the the first time, I heard you train and you really broke down the definition of leadership. And I love how you say it is not what we, affect, on others. It's truly how we lead ourselves. It
Mhm.
really gave me a different way of taking a look at the word and saying, well, this is the focus here. How am I going to lead myself? What are the things that I need to do, in order to to grow into certain spaces, like you said, to be innovative, to be able to chart courses, to move forward, figure things out, all of those things.
Mhm.
And what I love about it is that you just broke down the definition of influence, because that's what it is. Influence is the ability for us to be able to magnetically attract, people to us and inspire them to action. And the only way that we're able to inspire them, to action is because we're brilliantly taking those action ourselves. We're charting the course and
Right.
the path, for them. So I
You know,
love it.
you just brought us right into the next question. I think we
Mhm.
should look at is why true leaders don't need a title, and I think you're really breaking it down right now. Is that the reason true leaders don't need titles is because it's a beingness.
Mhm.
And so I watch people who have positional power. and they have the power that comes from the position, manager, director, leader, sometimes team leader, all those things. And they pull their right to lead and their power from the title. The question is, what happens when the title is not
Yeah.
there? Or what happens when you lean on the title too much?
Right.
Well, actually, I believe that you're not leading at all. You're managing people. Managers tell people what to do. They make sure people hit deadlines. They check boxes, all those different things. Leaders are innovative. Leaders are transformation agents. Leaders are change agents. It's a different game. And so the reason I believe you don't need a title to lead is because leadership is something I do to me.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Right. And so therefore my desire to grow, my desire to have more initiative, my desire to expand, my desire to become more is something I do to me. However, how effectively I do it to me
Right.
will impact, inspire, and infect
Yes.
other people. And then they say, ooh, me too.
Yeah.
Ah, I'm going to go over there. Ooh, this thing, I want this. And so for those of you that are new to your endeavor, entrepreneurial, solopreneur, all those things, it's how you get people looking at you is really around how effectively you personally lead yourself in the area of expertise. So is your character one someone can count on? So do you have fantastic habits? Are you mastering and growing the skills of the profession you chose to put your businesses? Are they seeing you evolve? I like to call it the Apple effect, right?
Yeah.
New phone. Are you doing that personally? Is your energy one where you're positive, uh, not caught up in your emotions, consistent and persistent? And do you have the ability to develop relationships rather than just create leads? Do you have the ability to get to know people and allow them to get to know you in a way where they say, I have a desire to spend more time with this person. I like how this person's showing up in the world. And do they see you up to something bigger than them and bigger than you?
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, next question. So, why is this piece, leadership, the key to lasting success and money?
So this, I think this Triot was one of my biggest learns. And I'm thinking of an example. Okay. Michael Jordan. No, let's look at Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
I like
Kobe.
I love you, Kobe. So let's look at Kobe Bryant. So Kobe comes into the NBA, a young unknown, and his way of being, his attitude has him grow and begin to develop as a leader in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at some point, he could have plateaued because he's an awesome player, fantastic, one of the top in the league. But Kobe doesn't do that. He says, I am going to be the best of the best. And so he continues to lead Kobe. First, what does Kobe do? He does his first practice at 4 or 3 or some crazy hour in the morning. I think it's 4 in the morning. I'm going to do my first practice at 4 in the morning. And if I do my first practice at 4 in the morning every day, I will be hours ahead in training than any other player in the NBA. He does his second practice. He does his third practice. He shoots. He studies the game like no other player. He's leading himself. And as a result, he's evolving beyond what anybody saw possible. Right? So he becomes the best player. So Kobe retires. You would think we're not hearing about Kobe no more. He retired. No. He's like, ball isn't the thing. I'm going to develop a company. I'm going to coach. I'm going to lead. I'm going to write books. And so he's continuously evolving. And
Mhm.
the reason we don't forget about him is because we're watching transformation number one,
Right.
transformation number two, transformation number three, transformation number four. Now, if I look at another great one, Magic Johnson. So I had the privilege of meeting Magic Johnson, sharing the stage, all that wonderful stuff. What was interesting was Magic talked about his basketball career for a few minutes. Then
Mhm.
he talked about his business endeavors, number one, number two. And what we see is we are expanding with him. And
Right.
because he keeps evolving, we don't forget about him. Now think of other players who've had the same opportunities, privileges, whatever. They've gone into the sunset and we don't talk about them, think
Mhm.
about them, know about them.
Right.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that, like you said, is that thing when you sit and you really unpack it. When we take a look at different people in different spaces, like right now, you're talking about athletes. One of the things that came to my mind as you were speaking, look at entertainers. So you
Mhm.
have, some entertainers out there where they might have a hit for a season, and then you're wondering, like, oh, what happened to them? But you look at other entertainers like a Beyonce or Jay-Z, who are continuously pushing the envelope, and then they're not scared to step out of their arena and try new things and
Yeah.
try courses, and then bring others along with them as well, and inspire other people to step out. So I just love it. As we're
Mhm.
talking about this, it's such a great topic. It's like the four biggest takeaways that I've gotten of what we shared. Number one, you don't need to have a title to be a leader. And I
Heck
think
no.
one of the things that has to be said here is that true leaders are born from challenges and tough times. So it's only when well, I shouldn't say only when, but oftentimes when we're faced with those tough challenges is how we bring ourselves through those challenges, also inspire other people to say, wow, this is a person that I need to look at. This is a person that I'm attracted to or I'm attached to, because I love how they move through adversity. And
Absolutely.
mhm. And then the third thing that I'm hearing you say, which is so important, is that leadership is also about building relationships as well. As so we continue to work on ourselves, how are we interacting with others and building our relationships? And that's a key to strengthening your relationship as well. And then just lastly, just continue to work on yourself and be the best that you could be.
I think that is the key. It is, one of the principles in lifelong learning
Mhm.
is one of the principles in mindset mastery is lifelong learning.
Mhm.
And why it's such a key one is it's the constant evolution. It's the constant commitment to make yesterday's best
Yeah.
better today. And it is growth, like incremental steps in different areas of our life, day in, day out, consistent and persistent. And when we do that, we are in constant evolution and transformation. This is what I know. People are less interested in where I am.
Mm. Yep.
They are inspired by where I'm
I'm
going.
going. Yeah.
So for me, what I tell myself is that boredom, depression, no fun happens when Suzanne stands in the same place too long.
Mm.
It's boring for me and it's boring for everyone around me, because what happens? I keep telling the same story about what happened because I have nothing else to talk about because I'm standing in the same place too long.
Yeah.
The minute I take on change, transformation, growth, expansion, I become energized. And because I have new information, new growth, new awareness, new challenges, the people around me become energized. So I remind myself that people aren't interested in where I am. That's old news.
Yeah. I love
People
it.
inspired by where I'm going. So leaders are people who cast massive visions, and it's visions that take your breath away. It's visions that scare you. It's visions that make your heart beat. And it's visions that have you stand in that space of fear and excitement. And we talk about it all the time. So those two energies existing at the same time. However, you choose to decide that you're excited because you know underneath it is that constant fear of, oh my gosh, I'm up to something big. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm up to it.
Yes.
That's the stuff. And when you are too content, you're not leading anymore. And I'm not saying you don't spend time there because we can't also always be in that space. However, when you're up to something, the energy in you shifts. And I know for myself, I'm like, God, really? Here we grow.
Here we grow again.
Can I just have a day? Now, really? If he gives me too many days, I'm just like, okay, come on, what's up? It's an energy. And
Yeah.
that energy is what inspires and affects people. This is why most of the world spends their time standing still
Yeah.
in the same place too long. That is why most people watch how many hours of TV a week.
Mhm.
That's why we have people spending hours on social media. That's why, because most of the world, the average person reads 4 books after they graduate school. They spend all their time watching TV. They do all these things because the average person isn't growing, isn't taking on big things. So when you meet someone who's up to something big, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
That's where leadership lives. And that's where our success lives.
Yeah. I love